Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In our last video, we went around the Kanto region to do some catching and training before we take on the Elite Four, even managing to catch all three of the legendary bird Pokemon, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. So now we're gonna be heading west of Viridian City to go and take on the Pokemon League. Yeah. And here's my overall team heading in. Yeah, I've got Charizard, Dragonite, Machamp, Lapras, Snorlax, and Gengar. Hang on. Okay, yeah, I'll take the nugget from Charizard, as well as give it, and some of my other Pokemon the Amulet coin to hold. Anyhow, as we begin our final hike to the Indigo Plateau to take on the Elite Four, remember as always to show your support for the channel by hitting that like button, commenting, and subscribing. And of course, we've got a rival battle here. So now we've got to take down Gary before we continue onward. Alright. And his first Pokemon is Pidgeot, so I'll start off strong with Rock Slide. And before you ask, yes, I did use the item duplication glitch to duplicate tons of rare candies so I can level up my Pokemon faster. And I forgot to teach Dragonite some new moves before coming out here. I think I would have remembered to do that beforehand. Alright, I think Dragon Rage will probably be my best bet with taking on Blastoise. Alright, and as soon as we're done with this battle, I'm going to be teaching Dragonite some new moves before we continue onward. And since Gengar's a trait evolution, it gets way more XP per battle than usual. Alright, let's do Cross Chop once again. Alright, this time dealing some sizable damage. Alakazam. So I'm gonna go with Snorlax. Yeah, I went back and caught the other Snorlax that was south of Lavender Town. During my outside of recording sessions. Alright, I'll stick with Snorlax for going up against Growlithe. Execute. I think I can... I think once again I can stick with Snorlax. Oh, and here comes Sleep Powder. Fortunately, I have a foolproof counter against it. And Execute is beginning to charge up for Solar Beam. Oh, and how lucky is that? Managing to turn Sleep Talk into Shadow Ball. And twice in a row? Yeah, it's like Snorlax is reading my mind here, man. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, Gary. Alright, before I continue on, I gotta get Dragonite some new moves. First up is Ice Beam. And I know that in Victory Road that there's a TM for Dragon Claw, so I'll grab that, as well as duplicate it with the glitch. Oop, did not mean to delete Dragon Rage, but oh well. I am gonna be switching it out for the Dragon Claw anyway. Huh, I didn't know that Machamp could use Flamethrower. Yeah, there we go. Now I'll just heal up my Pokemon. Yeah, I could probably use the item duplication glitch on the full restore, but I think it would be it'll be a lot faster for me if I just wait until I get to the Indigo Plateau and buy some in bulk from the shop there. Anyhow, it's on through the gates here. Alright, Route 23. Alright, we're halfway through the check-in gates. I don't need an Ekans. Alright, and that's the last gate. So now we can begin our adventures into the Victory Road. Yeah, we'll have to double back here once we get out of here if we want to get both the Dragon Claw TM and the rare candy that's supposed to be there. Yeah, I know I have an Onyx, but I want to get a stronger one than what I've got in the PC. Alright, and also assuming if this Onyx wants to be cooperative and just let me catch it. Of course, Onyx tend to be very stubborn when it comes to getting caught. I kind of wish that my Gengar knows how to use Hypnosis. But I don't have enough mushrooms to go and consult the move tutor on 2 Island. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And I also want to save my extra Master Balls for some of the legendary Pokemon that I'll be encountering post-game. Alright, there we go. Now, gotta get this boulder into place. And we don't need any Machop. Yeah, much like in Let's Go Pikachu, we've got switches here that activate those gates. I guess I do need to catch a Golbat if I want to get a Crobat. Excuse me. Two, 3. Almost. One, 2, 3. Okay, so what is with the Pokemon in Victory Road now today? Because not one of them wants to be caught. Oh. Okay, so was it that hard to get caught, Golbat? Alright, Dragon Claw. Now I gotta go ahead and duplicate it, so okay, after a little bit of item swapping, I've managed to duplicate the TM2 for Dragon Claw. So now I'll go ahead and teach it to Dragonite and Charizard. Yeah, it won't really matter if I have Charizard forget Wing Attack, because I still have the likes of Lapras and Machamp to deal with Bruno's 2 Onix. Alright, and I'm also gonna try to avoid all the unnecessary trainer battles as I possibly can. Just so I can... Well, then again, I could also benefit from them, so maybe if I get caught by a trainer, I'll go ahead and take them on. Alright, I'll help myself to a rare candy. And before we continue, I'm using a max repel to avoid any encounters. Now, I just gotta get this boulder pushed into place. That activates this. And I got caught by a trainer. Black Belt Daisuke. He's coming at us with a Machoke first. Alright, next up is Machop. I think I could probably give Gengar a chance to get in some battling. Yeah, especially with a move like Psychic. Oh! Dang! That was some serious power right there. Alright, and I'll go ahead and stick with Gengar. Alright, and Foresight made it possible for Machoke to hit Gengar with fighting-type moves. Unfortunately for him, that submission does recoil damage. And fighting-type moves aren't very effective against ghost types. Right, TM37 for Sandstorm. I want to get that item, so I guess I'll just take this guy on. Juggler Gregory and Mr. Mime. Yeah, too bad for him that used Encore on Flamethrower, because that finished off his Mr. Mime in no time flat. Right, TM07 for Hail. Right. Again, I want to get get all the items I can. And now before I start moving that boulder around, I've gotta go and find the hole I need to drop it in. Alright, electrode, so now it's Snorlax's turn. Alright, next up is Sand Slash. So it's Lapras' turn. Yeah, I think I'll use Sheer Cold, which always results in a one-hit KO. Cloyster. Now for Machamp against Cloyster. And Gengar's getting some serious leveling in. Or leveling up here. Excuse me. Yeah, allergy season is never kind to anyone. Yeah, I'm that child prodigy that you've been hearing about. Even though I'm not a kid anymore. But the kid inside me still loves to play games like Pokemon, just for the sheer fun of it. Alright, I think the switch is over yonder. I better go ahead and spray another Max Repel. Let's get this item first. TM50 for Overheat. Yeah, you can probably see down there in the lower right-hand corner that one gate there disappearing. And if we come back to this area, we don't have to push the boulder over again, because once we do it the first time, we don't have to do it again. Alright, and here's the boulder we need for that one lower level. Alright, so the rappel wore off, but we're in the home stretch of the Victory Road, so we don't really need to worry too much about that. And if we talk to that cool trainer that we just passed there before exiting Victory Road, he'll teach one of our Pokemon how to use the move Double Edge. A strong move to be sure, but not very practical for a longer battle because it always deals recoil damage. Alright, before we head into the Elite Four, we're gonna stock up on all the medicines that we're probably gonna need. Alright, and that takes care of both full restores and max potions. So now our team is all healed up and ready to go. Mainly it'll just be Charizard, Dragonite, Machamp, Lapras, and Snorlax who will be doing most of the battling because Gengar is still too low level to do any serious damage. And in these games, Lorelei was the one member who always gave me the most amount of trouble because I could never make it past. I could never really make it past her, except on those once in a blue moon occasions where I get lucky enough to knock out all her Pokemon. Alright, and next up is her Cloyster. Of course, in the past, I never had a real powerhouse on my team like Dragonite, like I do now. Slowbro. I'll stick with Dragonite for now. Alright, I need using Amnesia. So I'll go ahead and use Dragon Claw. Only for that to do nothing, and here comes Slowbro using Ice Beam. So now let's go ahead and use Thunderbolt again. Now that Safeguard is out of the way, we should have a fairly decent chance of landing a paralysis. Oh yeah, like right there. Yeah, but Surf isn't gonna do much unless our Pokemon's HP is that low. Fortunately, Dragonite's not the only powerhouse I've got, since I've got Snorlax in the reserves. I'll go ahead and stick with Snorlax, just so I can have enough time to use a Max Revive on Dragonite. let's go for Earthquake. And maybe Shadow Ball next. Yeah, so much for Confuse Ray. And of course it's going to use a Citrus Berry. Alright, Special Defense fell. So I just have to keep hammering away with Shadow Ball. And hopefully Lapras will go down. Alright, that's the third time that Lapras' special defense was lowered. I better go ahead and have Snorlax rest unless Surf knocks it out. Now with how much Snorlax was able to weaken Lapras' special defense, using Thunderbolt should be a cinch for Dragonite. I'll go ahead and finish off Lorelei with one last flamethrower to her Jinx. That is, unless this move knocks out Dragonite in one hit, which it does. Great. Ooh, and we managed to land a burn, too. I probably should have used Blast Burn instead. But it doesn't really matter since we just took down Lorelei. Alright, Max Revive for both Dragonite and Snorlax. And I'll use a full Restore on Charizard. And I'm definitely gonna need to save all of my Max Revives for later on. Alright, and here's Bruno, so I'll go ahead and save. Now we can initiate the battle with Bruno. Alright, and he's coming at us with an Onix first. That could be tricky. I'll have to make do with Dragon Claw, since that's the best move Charizard's got against Onix. Alright, Hitmonchan. I think I can stick with Charizard for now. Ooh. Unless of course that Rock Tomb finishes off Charizard. So I'll switch over to Machamp. Now it's Hitmonchan that's giving me some trouble. Yeah, time for Dragonite to take the lead. And no need for Destiny Bond. Of course, he's going to use Bulk Up with his Machamp. And he's using a Citrus Berry just to double our trouble. Using full restore. Yeah, lucky for us that cross chop isn't very accurate as far as moves go. But if it does manage to land, then it's pretty devastating. Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Ooh, and that landed a critical hit, which knocked out Snorlax in one move. Maybe Gengar can help even the playing field here. And it doesn't look like he's got any moves that are good against ghost types. Onyx, which means it's Lapras's turn now. I'm gonna try to go for Hydro Pump. More than likely, I'm gonna have to use the item duplication glitch to get some more rare candies. Of course, Sheer Cold had to miss. Alright, it's all up to Gengar now. Ooh, but Foresight will make things a lot trickier. And better hurry and max revive Charizard. Probably could have used Curse on Hitmonlee when I had the chance. But I guess we can't always get the right thing to do, or do the right thing when we need to. Alright, one more flamethrower ought to do it. Alright, I gotta heal up my team super fast, so it's max revives all around. I better switch my team around so Snorlax takes the lead for the next room. I'll hold off on duplicating any more rare candies until after I see how well I do against Agatha. Alright, and I gotta save. Of course, Agatha also has Golbat, which could make things a little tough for Snorlax. Again, I'm burpy. And Confuse Ray is not going to be doing me any favors here. Too long. Alright, next up is Golbat. I better go ahead and give Dragonite a rest, so next up is gonna be Lapras. Alright, that takes care of Golbat. I'll switch back to Snorlax. And it's times like this I'm glad that Snorlax has the immunity ability. So no matter what Agatha tries to do, Snorlax will be fine from her poison-type attacks. I'll stick with Snorlax. Try to use Shadow Ball. Unless Gengar knocks out my Snorlax. And the Pokemon are getting up close to level 60 here, so it might benefit me if I go ahead and use the duplication glitch to get in some more rare candies. Because there's no way my team will be able to stand up to both Lance and Gary's team once we're done with Agatha. Alright, time for Charizard to take the lead again. Alright, and she's coming at us with a Haunter for her last Pokemon. Now, for one last move, unless she uses Hypnosis. Alright, Awakening. Yeah, there we go. One last Blast Burn for the win. Okay, now before I continue on to take on Lance, I'm gonna duplicate some rare candies, so I'll be right back. Okay, alright, so I've successfully gotten all my Pokemon leveled up. According to how I want them, so now all we have to do is go and take on Lance, and then finish up with Gary. But first I gotta give everyone their items back, which involves me giving majority of my team amulet coins, while Gengar gets the XP share. Just because I know that Lance has a Gyarados on his team, I'm switching Dragonite to the lead position. Yeah, and I like how they did the hallway leading up to Lance in these games. So how it's an actual corridor. Alright, so now now begins our battle with Lance. And as I suspected, he's starting off with Gyarados. I'm gonna hit us hard with the Twister first. But we can hit back even harder with Thunderbolt. Yeah, I'll stick with Dragonite for a while. Probably should have used an elixir on Dragonite as well, because Dragon Claw is starting to run pretty low. So I'll use Ice Beam then. Yeah, go for a one-hit KO. And here comes Lance with his own Dragonite. And we're both level 60. But I've got the edge with the Ice Beam on my side. Of course, that doesn't mean that his Dragonite doesn't have bulky defenses. Alright, I'll use Dragon Claw this time. Now that should at least do some sizable damage while allowing us to come at him with one last Ice Beam. And he almost took out our Dragonite with Outrage. And his final Pokemon's Aerodactyl, so I'm switching to Lapras. Oh, and Aerodactyl has Ancient Power, which could prove somewhat troubling for Lapras since it's an Ice type. Yeah, at least that second Ancient Power didn't KO Lapras. And Gengar's once again leveled up. Yeah, now I've got to go and take on Gary. But first... Elixir for Dragonite. Or 2 elixirs for Dragonite. 1 for Lapras. And I think that should do it. Because I'm pretty sure the rest of the team has some solid PP with their... with all of their moves. And I'll stick with Dragonite as my lead Pokemon. Oh, I forgot to save right there. Dang it. Oh well, looks like we're gonna have to... hope for the best in this battle. That we can defeat Gary as quickly as we can. Oh, that's a cheap shot with the Sand Attack right there. Yeah, but we still managed to land a good hit with Thunderbolt. Yeah, switching to Rhydon won't do you any good, Gary, because our Dragonite has Ice Beam. Alright, hopefully this Ice Beam can knock out Rhydon, and no, it did not. No, but still did recoil damage. Okay, and even if we didn't manage to knock out Rhydon, it still took itself out for us. Alright, let's go for Thunderbolt again. Alright, next up is Alakazam. So we gotta switch to Snorlax, since he's our tank. Yeah, Reflect me. Yeah, you can use Reflect all you want, Gary, but it won't do you much good against Shadow Ball. And that's what I like about Snorlax in these games, even though I never really used it in growing up. It can take attacks and keep on trucking. Alright, time for Flamethrower. Yeah, bingo bongo. Alright, next up is Blastoise. The only Pokemon I've got that's good against Blastoise is Dragonite with Thunderbolt, but it's pretty weak right now, so I'll switch to Machamp so I can use a Hyper Potion. Alright, and he's just using Rain Dance. Yep. Hang on a Sorry, just had to go to the bathroom right there. Anyhow, let's go ahead and try to do some good damage to Blastoise with Machamp. Oh yeah, I forgot about Reflect. And of course, he's sticking with Hydro Pump as his main attack choice. Fortunately, we can always use Revenge if necessary. And again with a Citrus Berry. I thought I was a bit of a long shot. Trying to use Revenge at the last possible second there. But still, Machamp did do some pretty good damage to Blastoise. So now all we've got to do is take out the remainder of Gary's Pokemon. Alright, next up is Arcanine, which means Lapras is up next. Alright, well, let's see if we can't try to use Hydro Pump ourselves against Arcanine. If we can, that is. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, so close. Well, even if Lapras does go down to Arcanine, we still have plenty of Pokemon that can get the job done. Yeah, case in point, Snorlax. Yeah, one Earthquake is all we needed to finish off Arcanine. Oh, and that was the last of Gary's Pokemon. So at least now we've defeated him. And now we're the new Kanto region champion. Yeah, it's kind of harsh of Professor Oak to be scolding his grandson after a loss like that. But he does have something of a valid point since Gary was focusing more on trying to be the best rather than loving and trusting his Pokemon. Anyhow, here's our final team: Dragonite, Charizard, Machamp, Lapras, Snorlax, and Gengar. Yeah, real dream team right here. So yeah, now we've got the post-credit. Now we've got the credits to roll. But there is a way to skip past them. I'll do it in just a moment. Because now that we've cleared out the Pokemon League, we can now take on the post-game. I'll be focusing mostly on helping Celio power up his network machine to connect with the Hoenn region. As well, and maybe after that I'll go around catching some of the legendary Pokemon. Because after you beat the main story of the game of Fire Red or Leaf Green, both the Aurora ticket and the Mystic ticket will appear in your bag, allowing you to encounter Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Deoxys. Which is a good thing. I also have plenty of Master Balls to work with once we're done here. Anyhow, I just have to press all the A, B, X, and Y buttons all simultaneously, and we'll spawn right here in Pallet Town. And here comes Professor Oak. Yeah, 112 Pokemon out of the 150 that we can obtain in the Kanto Pokédex. Anyhow, I feel like that should do for this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And remember, as always, to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to show your support for the channel. And now our Pokédexes have been upgraded to the National Dex, so now we can go and explore more of the Sevi Islands. And that'll happen in the next video. But until then, peace out.